So I came out here to film to give you a little bit of context. And then it started raining. So I want to talk to you about something that happened this week. It was a little bit scary. Not really scary, but scary enough. Well, hey, I just found money in my pocket. Go buy myself a latte. So the other day I noticed that one of my headlamps on my car was out, so I decided to go to the auto parts store to get a new lamp. I went kind of late. It was 5 minutes, 10 minutes before closing. I walk in and I go right to the first aisle, which is where the headlamps were, and I'm standing there and I got my phone in one hand trying to research which lamp I need. Got one of the bulbs in my hand on the other hand. I'm comparing things back and forth, and all of a sudden I hear the bell for the door open behind me. Kind of casually look over my shoulder, just expecting it to be a customer, and it's this guy, and he's in a hoodie, and I didn't really look close, but he's in a hoodie and a mask, and he walks over to me and he puts his arm on my shoulder, my back, and he says, "All right, boss, let's go." And he pushes me towards the register as he's pulling a gun out of his pants. Right there, where it went down. I was standing in there. So he pushes me towards the register where there's a young girl behind the counter. I wasn't quite sure. He wasn't very specific about where he wanted me to go, so I wasn't quite sure what he wanted me to do, so he kind of had to prod me and push me a little bit to get me over there to where he wanted us to go. Meanwhile, there was another guy, his accomplice, who came in behind him, and he went to go grab the manager who was in another aisle. And the way they orchestrated this was as if they were probably out in the parking lot watching the whole thing go down as I was driving up. They saw me go in. They knew I was going in there. They knew how many people were inside. They moved me and the girl to the back, and they grabbed the manager, moved him to the back, and led him towards the safe. And the guy stood in a spot where he knew the cameras were. He knew exactly where the safe was. He was very calm, collected, only threatening enough to make sure we knew that, you know, he had the gun. Proceeded to basically rob the place of the money in the safe and then in the register. Details don't really matter. What matters is that, number one, as men, we talk to ourselves about the kind of things that we would do in that particular situation. We always like to posture up and, you know, play big for our friends sometimes about what we would do in that particular situation. And it isn't until you get into that situation that you realize what your true character is. You want to beat down the guy, you want to fight him, you want to make sure, you want to become the hero. And that's not how it went down. Nothing really went down, except I stood there and stood in front of the girl. She was crying and she was losing her mind, and I sat there and I just consoled her and I said, just be cool and he'll be cool. That kind of freaked me out a little bit, but I was still even keel the entire time, just low key. And it just occurred to me like that is my nature. That is who I am. I'm the protector, I'm the guardian. It's who I've always been. I always stand up for friends. I'm the one that always breaks up fights. I'm always the one that stands in the way. I would be the guy that jumped in front of the bullet if I was a Secret Service agent. In one way, it feels like I didn't quite get to step up on the level that I thought I would, but in the other way, it really affirms who I am as an individual. And that is a precious thing. It sucks that I had to take getting robbed at gunpoint to figure that out, but I figured it out. I refuse to let a little bit of rain dictate when and where I would record, because this stuff needs to get out. And technology be damned if I ruin my camera. So what this whole experience has kind of brought to me is basically two new lessons. The first is the one that I have talked about in the past, that you are gonna die. And this solidified that. What I mean by that is that you don't know when your last day will be. My last day could have been Thursday. And would I have, in that moment, felt that I lived the life that I truly wanted? Maybe not entirely, but I think I've lived a pretty decent life. But the experience just made me more aware of how much I wasn't doing. Not that I have a whole lot of regret, but that there are things to be done, and I need to get on it. The second lesson in there is that life teaches us lessons, and we have to be aware of them. Even the most tragic events have a lesson to share with us. The worst possible events that happen to us, whether it's being held up, we lose a loved one, we get a president elected that we didn't want, all of those things have, for lack of a better term, a silver lining around them, because there's something to be learned from every single one of them, and we learn and we grow and we move on. I gotta move over here. It's getting a little bit super rainy. So the lesson I take away from that is very simple. Take that lesson of the gunman and use that to my advantage. What is that going to make of me? How am I going to develop from that? If I had to play it out again, would I do the exact same thing? Yeah, I probably would, because now I fully understand exactly what my role is in those situations, and I owned it.